Okay, I wanted to go through what a Turnitin report means, because I think a lot of students get frustrated with Turnitin because they see random words highlighted. So this is an example of a report, so I just want to show you how I got here. So I'm in Turnitin, this is an assignment, and I've clicked on this colorful flag next to the report. And you can see here it says 18. And when it opens up over here, you can see this is the report itself with the problems highlighted, and here's your 18%. And if you go down to this list here, well, this probably doesn't show up straight away. You have to go down to where it's in red, you click on it, and you click on the 18, or whatever your number is, and it'll show you the breakdown. So it's telling me that 9% of his report is similar to this publication, which is, that's me, yay. 7% is similar to Jeff Campbell, who's another South African geophysicist, and the fact that it says publication means it's a journal article. If it says web source, then it's a web page. And you can see here it says student paper, so it's, I don't know if that's a thesis or... Okay, so I really would recommend spending your time on the bigger percentages. So don't waste your time straight away on these 1%. Go to the things like 90% or 17%, 9%, sorry. Because if you're at 18% and you solve some of this, like 5% of these problems, you're going to drop down to 30% and you're fine because you're under 14%. So spend time on the bigger percentages. So I just wanted to show you, well, what do these highlighted section mean? And so I think a lot of you get frustrated because you see here that and is highlighted. And you're like, how the heck am I supposed to change and? And like here, and the, and resources. But the problem here is you're not actually supposed to look at individual words. You should be looking what is between these vertical lines. So here's one vertical line, here's the second one. So everything here in this sentence that is highlighted is the same as this journal article. And everything between this vertical line and this vertical line. So all of this is exactly the same as somebody else's journal article, except for this word some, and except for this reference here. So that is what you need to focus on. And so also what I would do now is go find the longest amount of red highlights or colored highlights and deal with that. Like don't deal with a short amount. Like here, 80% of the world's platinum group and the resources. This is going to be hard to change, and it's not that many words, so it's not going to be a large part of this 7%. So let's look at this one here. This was in place at shallow crustal levels as some sills in the floor sediments of the basal volcano-sedimentary transvaal supergroup. So we're talking about the Bushveld here. How can we deal with this long sentence that a lot of it is highlighted? And let's just double check how similar it is to this journal article. So I think if you double click here, this is linked to this reference up here, and we're clicking on the next one. So Jeff Campbell in his paper wrote, it implying the Bushveld complex, was in place at shallow crustal levels as sills in floor sediments of the basal volcano-sedimentary transvaal supergroup. So all of those are the same as here, except he put some, and that's not here. And so you can see you can't just add in other words or shuffle the words around. You really need to understand the sentence and write it in your own words. So I would recommend that when you're doing this, read the sentence that is a problem, go away and explain it to a friend or a family member, come back, don't look at the sentence on the screen again, open a new blank Word document and try write a sentence that explains it, or that exact replica of what you just told your family member. Because we don't want it in fancy words, we just want it in your own words. I think as a science student you get so nervous about sounding professional, and that was the science of the past, that you had to sound fancy. But now the whole point is how understandable you are, and that often comes across so much better when you explain it in your own words. So let's look here at the sentence and think how we can change it into our own words. So why don't you pause the video and think what you would change. Well, one grammatical thing I would change, sorry Tiashin, is this is a very long sentence, so I would split it in half. So I would actually split it here, which will change nothing about your Turnitin score, but you can't have the age of it, the size of it, and then how it was in place all in one sentence. It's far too long. So I would put a full stop here. And now let's look at this side of the sentence. So we're talking about the Russenburg layered suite being placed at shallow crustal levels as sills. So I would say something like, the Russenburg layered suite is thought by many scientists to have intruded as sills into the Transvaal supergroup. So what I've said is I've added the word intruded instead of emplaced. I used sills and Transvaal supergroup, but I've left out this whole basinal volcano sedimentary sequence. I also haven't included shallow crustal levels. So I've just said literally the Russenburg layered suite is thought to have intruded as sills into the Transvaal supergroup. It's a nice, concise sentence. The next sentence you could go on to say the rocks of the Transvaal supergroup are volcano sedimentary. I assume this word basinal, I don't know, it means it's I don't know. You'd have to look up what is trying to be implied with this word basinal. So you could say, yeah, the Transvaal supergroup rocks are made up of volcano sedimentary sequences, and all of the sills that intruded the Transvaal supergroup were intruded at shallow crustal levels. Or you might, that's fine, it would highlight these three words, but that's not significant. So you can see I've taken this sentence here and divided it again into another three sentences. I said the Russenburg layered suite intruded as sills into the Transvaal supergroup. What type of rocks the Transvaal supergroup is the next sentence. And the third sentence I said it was at shallow crustal levels. So you are shuffling words around, but you're also getting it into your own words, so it's a little bit more easier to understand instead of these long, complicated sentences. So let's just try one more here. Scrolling down. So this is one thing that's highlighted for my coming from reference number 1. The Russenburg layered suite intruded into the Transvaal supergroup and the Rooiberg volcanics. Well, you would argue, well, actually, this has already been stated above, so this is a duplication. So you could actually take this out, and you could move this Rooiberg group up here to when you first talk about it intruding as sills. So you don't actually need that sentence. Number 4 here, but you can see number 4 is only 1%, so I wouldn't even worry about it. So here again, number 1 and number 2, which are higher percentages, how can we change these? So let's take a look. So let's look here at number 1. How similar are the words? I don't know if we can move this up. There we are. This is a bit confusing because it's actually broken up into 2 vertical line sections. So here's the first bit over here, and here's the second bit over here. Let's maybe look at the second bit. It's a bit longer. So it's saying the UG2 and the marine screw reef peroxides close to the top of the critical zone are the 2 main economic horizons that host platinum group elements. And they give the reference, and then they said UG2 is of. And you can see this is the sentence in our publication that it's very similar to. So the top of the critical zone are 2 of the main economic horizons hosting platinum group's elements. So you've got to try to think, how can you reword this top one? So let's give it some thought. You could break the sentence up. Again, explain it to a friend or family member to better understand it yourself, but you could say something like, the top of the critical zone is very important for economic hosts 2 very important economic horizons. These are the UG2 and the Marinsky reef, and then start a new sentence and say the reason for the economic value is that they host platinum group elements. So again, it feels like you're shuffling things around and just breaking sentences up, but yeah, you're just trying to make it your own sentences and explain it in your own way. So you could ultimately go through all your stuff and try and take away some of these larger matches and then resubmit it to Turnitin, and hopefully then your percentages will have come down somewhat. And yeah, it really is, if you focus on these larger percentages, you should be able to get it down quite quickly.